Feels good, huh?
Yes, indeed. All of this is very familiar, but
I bet it is.
but very foreign.
I mean, the GPSs are new, but the rest of it's pretty much, well, I suppose the flight instruments were a little bit different. You know, you probably had a big DG or something in the center, I suppose. Big gyro in the center, I would guess, or something.
There was a big gyro.
Yeah. But the rest of it's pretty much the same.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, it's an honor to fly it, I'll tell you.
Well, you know, it's been 70 some years since I actually flew it.
Uh-huh. Did you, so did you finish out the war in Italy, or
Yeah, I finished before the war was over.
Okay, okay. Because it was 70 years in a week that the Japanese finally signed the documents.
That's right.
And I just did a little radio story, and I was talking about the 8th Air Force. They lost more in the 8th Air Force than the Marines did in Vietnam.
Well, there were a lot of lives lost.
Now, how old were you when you were doing this, Jim?
19.
19. And did you start out over here then? And were you in the co-pilot seat, or?
No, I started out here.
19 in the left seat.
Yep.
And about how many hours of flight time do you remember you had at that time?
Well, I think I had a total of about 1,200 hours.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And the usual hours over the seas. And well, I had good timing. I became a flight commander and got the rank of a captain.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Well, I was 19.
19. That is cool. There weren't too many. Most of the guys in that position were in their 20s, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about Jim? Could you turn just a little bit, get a picture here, so I can send to the guys and say,
Okay.
hey, here's the real thing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, cool. And your last name, Jim, was?
Street, S-T-R-E-E-T.
And you were the 15th?
15th Air Force, 483rd Bomb Group, 815 Squadron.
Were you ever, did you ever have to bail? Or
No,
never
I never left a good airplane.
Yeah, good, good, good.
Yeah, I was fortunate.
Yeah.
You unlock the...
Yeah, there's control lock right there. Yeah. Here. Yep, all the way. There you go.
The wind was moving around.
Oh, moving them around.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just like an incredibly cool airplane to fly. A bit of a challenge, as I'm sure you know, in the crosswinds.
Well, you know, I flew one mission on October 7th, 44. Sitting here kind of reminds me of it because it was a supply and rescue mission into Slovakia.
Oh, wow.
And there were 6 planes from 43rd selected to do this. We landed on a grass field.
Oh, cool.
And it was a short runway, really short. But well, and we had to keep our engines running while the plane was unloaded and loaded. But Slovak soldiers gathered around our nose, you know, curious about the plane.
Yeah.
And I noticed a couple of them were smoking a cigarette.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I had a pack of Lucky Strikes, which was open. I'd smoked a couple, but I tossed it out just on an impulse. I watched the guy catch the package. He took out one cigarette and passed it around, and I could see where everybody was taking out only one cigarette. I commented on that many years later when I became acquainted with a Slovak immigrant, and who had been part of that group. And he says, and I said, you know, watching those guys take out one cigarette at a time really expressed a real camaraderie among them. He says, anyone take out more than one cigarette, he'd find a knife in his back.
Camaraderie under extortion.
Yeah. Yeah.
35 missions. It must have been tough doing that 34th and 35th, huh?
Yeah, and they were both to Vienna, two of the worst targets in Europe.
Oh, man.
Actually, it wasn't the city of Vienna. It was petroleum refineries just on the outskirts. Those were tough targets.
Yeah, especially for mission 34 and 35.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I was in the Navy in constellations, and we do typhoon tracking. And I can remember my last month, you know, I didn't want to fly into any typhoons. I just wanted to go home.
Yeah.
Jim, I had to come and see you in the pilot seat.
Well, do that, okay?
I'm going to get a picture of you if I can get my camera to work. Come on. Camera's been weird lately.
Now you live here, Jim?
In Portland.
Mm-hmm. And what did you do after the war then?
I went to college on GI Bill.
Oh, cool.
And,
He was an FBI agent.
Oh, really?
And then he was director of safety for PGE.
Uh-huh.
He's pretty modest.
Terry knows everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone's coming up.
Oh,
Another thing reminding me, sitting in this seat, underneath this cushion, my crew chief found a piece of armor plate, just the right size, also for the co-pilot.
Yeah. Right.
That was very comforting,
Yeah.
particularly one time when we got home and there was a knot in that armor plate.
Oh, really? From flak, probably.
Yeah, from
Yeah.
flak.
I would imagine flak would be pretty annoying and dangerous.
Well, that particular flak would have kind of destroyed my family.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that story.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh.
Well, I'm very disappointed because I was really looking forward to hearing those engines.
I know.
Oh, we're not going flying?
No, but could you turn the engines on? Would that be
No,
against the rules?
no.
I should have let Jim start him here. So, yeah, I hadn't heard that yet. So they said no?
Yeah, they just announced no flying.
I'm really sorry, Jim. Now, you live in Portland, you say?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you can find your way down here, we're going to be flying, we hope, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I think you sold 40 tickets.
So I know for sure we got probably a flight in the morning.
You mean tomorrow morning?
Yeah. I know we got some people on it already.
You should talk to them before you leave.
Yeah. Now they don't, the problem is they don't know what the manifest is yet. This
Thank
is
you.
Jim Street.
Hi, I met you.
Oh, you did? You talked to
Yep,
Jim already?
Yep, I'm
Yeah.
with the Statesman. I'm with Cappy.
So he's got an impressive resume. He was 19.
When you were a
Sitting there.
captain.
19. sitting
Yeah,
there.
your wife told me that.
Most of those guys were in their
She's
was
talking.
bragging
She's
about you.
talking, huh?
Yeah.
most of those guys were in their 20s actually. So he
Yeah.
was one of the younger ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was
Aircraft
moving
commander.
quick.
Yeah, my co-pilot was 21,
Okay.
and our crew ranged from 19 to 35.
Wow.
And did you meet your wife in the war?
No, at the college after
Uh-huh.
the war.
Got it?
I've got an interesting story about the ball turret. My ball turret gunner, flight engineer, was wounded while standing in that thing. His wound was just a cut on the forehead. It cut the leather helmet and scratched, drew blood. But we figured out the rotation of the turret, if he'd been rotating the opposite direction, the flak would have been right direct in his head.
Yeah.
But he was going to the right, and it just grazed him.
Man. Yeah. Incredible.
Are you recording all this?
Good stories.
I better not tell you lies, had I?
Tell us about
Who
London.
would know the difference? It was so long ago, who would know the difference?
Yeah, well, that's right.
Yeah.
Tell about what?
London.
Well,
R&R.
I wasn't in the 8th.
Oh, that's right.
I
Yeah,
was in the 15th.
So where'd you guys go?
Into, well, as to towns, into Foggia.
Uh-huh.
And I found a family in Lucera, a few miles away from our air base at Steperone, that we would visit occasionally. We would manage to take in some U.S. Army rations,
Right.
canned stuff and powdered stuff, and the lady would fix a dinner you wouldn't imagine. Beat hell out of the cooks on base.
Yeah.
On base.
Yeah.
So my wife was out there telling stories. Huh?
Yeah. That's okay. I was asking her. So.
Is there room, Rex?
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to get some photos.
Well, babe, I better get out of here. Make
Hold
some
on
room.
before you leave.
You're popular there, Jim.
We got
You
a
get
couple
too hot
of
up there? You okay? Heat wise? You good? Yeah. There you go. Let me
Can
get
I
out the
switch
way.
with you? Yeah. Would you, oops, sorry. Would you mind holding that for me? That's just a sign of our logo.
Okay. Is that about right?
Yeah. And then just one more. With this. This is a piece of our aircraft, our B-17.
Let me take a look at it.
That's from underneath the wing right here.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Oops.
Yeah, it looks like you belong there.
Well, as long as we're being recording, I'm going to tell about the worst mission I was on.
Okay.
Good, good.
Sorry.
And this was Vienna again.
Mm-hmm.
We lost 2 engines over the target. We managed to feather the props, fortunately. Otherwise, we would
On
never.
the same side?
No, one on either side. Yeah.
Opposite sides, okay.
Yeah, number 1 and number 3.
Okay.
And that was also a godsend.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because that made flying much easier, and we could make it back.
This was after target.
Yeah, after the target. We had to drop out of formation because we couldn't keep up. So we were up there in the skies all by ourselves, just praying that the Germans didn't see us, and they didn't. In order to get across the Alps, we were losing altitude. We dropped everything that we could get off the plane, including the ball turret.
The ball turret too.
Yeah, we got the
Yeah.
ball turret.
Right, it's got to drop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the gunner came out first.
Yeah, right. But you knocked it loose. Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't just jettison in the ball turret.
I often wondered where that thing hit,
Yeah.
but it was probably up in the Alps somewhere.
See
But
it?
at any rate, we got home, I'd say on the wing and a prayer. And really the critical thing was being able to line up the air the airport so that we could make a landing on the first effort, because there'd be no chance of going around.
Yeah, on 2. Yeah.
Yeah. it worked out just fine.
Man.
But I've got a photograph of that plane in the service department. They had to remove 3 engines, replace 3 engines.
You probably had the other 2 going for everything they had.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
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 And one kind of got burned out, I guess.
I would guess. Oh man. Yeah, it'd be tough to be the straggler by yourself.
Yeah, well, you know, I heard many years later at a crew reunion how the guys in the back, as they were going across the Alps with Switzerland over off the right wing, saying, "Wouldn't it be nice to go to Switzerland?"
Hey Rex, would you mind if I got a picture of you with him?
Yeah.
Would that be alright?
There we go.
Maybe climb up there and
There we go. How's
both of you guys sitting there in the cockpit?
there? How's this?
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay.
Alright. You guys ready? Let's do one more. Thank you.
Hey, I got another story for you. This was the closest I ever came to being actually shot down.
You can try squeezing.
I don't want to squeeze too much for you guys.
On October 20th, I was supposed to fly a mission.
Right.
But overnight, they changed orders and sent me and my crew to the Isle of Capri for a week's R&R. When we got back to the base,
Right down to the nose, sure.
we found out that the replacement crew flying in our position were shot down.
Oh man. So it was supposed to be your mission, but you were an R&R instead.
dropped his
Knocked
phone.
something down.
That
So
was
that
Rex's
cat-
phone.
Is that Rex's phone?
Yep.
So that kind of firmed up our fatalist attitude.
See if I can find it down. There it is.
Tim's dropping bombs, cell phone bombs.
That's okay. Thank you.
One cell phone bomb.
Got it. Yeah, that's
I'm dropping mine.
you know, just getting 35 missions is
There you go.
incredible. You know, I mean, you know, there weren't very many that did that, right?
No, there were quite a few, but our group was over in Italy only 1 year. They arrived in April of
Yeah, kind of warm.
44, and the war was over in May 45. But in that 1 year, the group lost 75 to being shot down. And the normal mission would run
That's the door.
26 planes.
So you would lean over the top of that if you're on the eyepiece.
I didn't know we could get down there.
Yeah,
the
once
nose
once
was a
you
good,
once
like,
Yes.
once she gets out.
when you crawl.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
when
try
you
there
crawl
now.
in before you actually go into the nose, you'll get a full shot. That's
Okay.
a really good shot.
Cool. Cool. That'll be fun.
You know, I've been asked how did I happen to become a captain at age 19,
Yeah.
and my answer to that was
Say what?
I was just able to avoid
Yep.
the inevitable. The attrition rate.
Tom, you guys doing
okay
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get you rotated up.
Navigator's table. He was sitting in this seat.
Can we get you guys to rotate?
Sure.
Sure, I'd be happy to get out of here.
You know, they said it wasn't pleasant, but it wasn't terrible either. They said the Germans were polite,
Yeah, they were pretty cooperative.
and they said the Germans, you know, they said you were starving, but they said the Germans were starving too.
Well, I don't know about that. Yeah, they were, I guess. What happened was we were getting partials from the American Red Cross, which had all kinds of supplemental things like coffee and cigarettes, which were a medium of exchange, and Spam and sugar and things like that. But only about February 1945, when they bombed Dresden, the Americans by day and the Brits by night around the clock, 100,000 casualties in a firestorm. Why, Hitler said, shoot all Allied airmen prisoners. And what saved our ass was
Herman Goering intervened and said, hey boss, not too good an idea, because they got all these other people who were going to retaliate. We had 1 million prisoners in Canada and U.S. at that time.
Yeah.
So instead they stopped all the Red Cross parcels. They put us on very low rations. So from February to May, we existed on 2 slices of black bread and 1 bowl of cabbage soup a day. And I went down to 105 pounds by May.
Man.
Give you an idea. But other than that period, it wasn't too bad. We were all young and foolish.
Yeah.
And a lot of us, there was 9,000 in that one camp. There were something like 40,000 airmen were shot down in Europe and became prisoners.
40,000.
And 36,000 were killed in action. Yeah. So it was a big operation with an awful lot of us.
Yeah.
I was the old fart in the crew because I put 4 years in the Marine Corps before I got involved with the Army Air Corps. So, otherwise, I would have been. Most of the pilots were probably younger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you come back. You trained in the States.
Yeah. My co-pilot was 21.
Oh.
We'll look this way, Dad, for just a sec. Nice.
Okay. Got all the pictures we need?
Yep.
Well, are you filming this?
Yeah, I'm filming.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Well, I want to hear the stories and save those.
Uh-huh. Well,
But if you're through, we can get out.
did I tell you about the air battle that we were shot down in?
No.
Okay. When we took off from Italy, we encountered bad weather. 168 B-17s going against the Nijmegen airfield, which is a research and development base, and in southern Germany, near Munich. The weather was bad, and the rendezvous time with the escorts were all fouled up. So some of the Air Force got recalled and went home, and we ended up alone in Germany, 26 bombers. We were attacked by 200 German fighters, and we shot down 66 of them, and they shot down 14 of us, including me. The other 12 went on to bomb the target. The target was very important. We didn't know that. I didn't find that out until 1987, when we went to a reunion, and a young woman from the Wisconsin Air National Guard wrote her master thesis on that particular raid, and she briefed us. They were building the Messerschmitt 262, the first jet fighter, an underground installation at this base, and that's why it was so heavily defended.
Wow.
Yeah. After I was shot down, I was loose for 6 days, and I was picked up on the Swiss border, questioned by police, and didn't have any ID or anything. So I eventually ended up in the hands of the Luftwaffe, and they took me back to the same base we'd been bombing. And while I was there was a night raid from England, I guess, British, and the guards came and got me, took me down into this underground installation. So I know it existed. I didn't see anything at the time. I was just shoved off in a room. Yeah. So she told the story at our reunion in Boston in 1987. We were all dumbfounded. We had no idea. It was just another airfield as far as we were concerned.
Yeah.
It was very important. Also destroyed on that raid was the Messerschmitt 264, which was a 4-engine bomber, prototype only.
Oh,
Only
wow.
one they had, capable of reaching the United States.
Really?
Yeah. So it was an important target. Now the other gentleman that you talked to up here came in August. I got shot down in July.
Right.
So all of a sudden that group needed a lot of replacements.
Yeah. So Jim was probably his replacement.
We had on that airplane, we had in that mission we had 143 airmen exposed. 63 were killed, and 80 became POWs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was pretty typical. The other part of the story I mentioned, the walk-around bottle I've got. This German researcher came to visit me in Arizona, where I went, and he brought with him 40 pounds of luggage from my crash site.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You were. Yeah.
And the way they were to identify it was there was something called the Missing Aircrew Report. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, Missing Aircrew Report was generated every time we lost an airplane. And you can go on the internet now and you can pull it up and read it. And it listed the serial number for every one of the 13 machine guns and the serial number for each of the 4 engines. They listed the complete crew, the base we took off from, what the target was, and so on. And he was able to access this data. He had a rusty old machine gun with a serial number, and he equated that to the serial number of my airplane. That's how he found me. I still hear from this guy. He talks to me about once a month.
Oh, that is cool.
We send stuff back and forth to one another.
Yeah, that is something.
Yeah, he's quite a researcher.
I'm gonna crawl up.